So I'd like to speak briefly before we begin to meditate together. There's something I've noticed, and we've been connecting with a lot of people these days out there. I want to speak to something that seems to be fairly common. I don't know if this will resonate with you. Something that we have observed at other times in working with folks, that during times of greater stress, I find this to be something very poignant about we human beings, that at times when there is more stress, there's a tendency to do somewhat less of the things that we already know are good for us and good for our well-being. So things that behaviors, habits, good habits that we might do as part of our self-care routine when there's less stress. Now when there's more stress, we need those things more, and we tend to do them even less. How poignant is that? Not only that, but we tend to do some of the things that we know aren't quite so good for us a little bit more when we're under stress, which kind of compounds the issue. Yeah. Now, what are those routines for yourself? I mean, for myself, it's always the three that show up immediately for me: are meditation, some form of exercise, moving the body, working the body some. Pretty committed to that, and eating relatively well. Yeah. And in speaking to a number of folks again this past week or two, it seems like in this time of stress and with more time at home and with less structure, now we're having to find some new kind of structure, more people are kind of like the metaphor that comes to mind is a kind of like a spinning ball on the computer. There's more time and more possibility for self-care as well in some forms. And that's not what's happening so much. People are tending to eat not quite so well. Even people I've spoken to are regular exercises or somehow not finding another routine for that. And it's harder for people to meditate alone as well. Even though we might say it would be good for us to do a little bit more of that during this time. Yeah. I find that very poignant. I want to offer you some basic encouragement in those territories, whatever those territories are for you. I'm really talking about the things that bring you joy, that uplift your own heart, that you know what they are. That when you do them, you feel a little better. It could be gardening. It could be cooking and putting your whole self into that activity of cooking, or making some special things for yourself or for loved ones. It could be painting. It could be journaling. Yeah. But whatever those things are that you know of that will uplift yourself, which obviously includes meditation. And maybe some of you have let us know that it's helpful to come in the morning because it's a little hard to sit alone these days. So we so appreciate your willingness to do that, to show up here, to be part of this. And sometimes, we all know this principle, I think we've all experienced this. Sometimes we wait for the motivation to come before we act on something, Exercise is a classic one. I'm going to wait till I feel like exercising. If I waited till I felt like exercising, it wouldn't happen very often, And sometimes, especially at a time of stress, we have to remind ourselves. We have to remember. I love the original definition of mindfulness, sati, S-A-T-I, which means remembering to remember the things that are important. And sometimes, in times of stress, we need to remember the things that will make us feel a little bit better, and also remember the things that won't make us feel so good, like watching the news feed several times a day. We kind of know that, but kind of get pulled into pulled down rabbit holes that end up not feeling so good. And then on top of that, I watch a news feed, and now I want to eat something that I know isn't going to feel too good, and so forth and so on. So it can be a kind of a um, one challenging moment followed by another here. We can get like a tumbleweed moving down there, and so we just want to remind you here to remember the things that you know will feel better if you do them, and to do one or two of those, yeah, as well as meditate regularly. Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes the action has to happen before the motivation, and then we will still feel better. Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've driven to the gym, for example, knowing every minute of it, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. And I feel better afterwards, after I go, you know. It's like that. Sometimes the action has to come before the motivation. You know? Yeah. So we offer that for your consideration. Something to add, Susan?
No, I think that's complete.
Yeah. Mm. So, yeah, let's meditate together then.